Good morning, everyone. Blue is the colour. Unbelievable. I'm sitting out here in my garden Saturday morning, and I've never seen the sky so blue in my, when I say entire life. I have when I was a kid, but even, down along the horizon there, it's not really that low, but usually that's just grey as shit. This is amazing. The sun's over there. Everywhere. There's not a cloud in the sky, but the colour blue, it is, virtually blue like the good old days. So one good thing about this Corona BS is no planes, no spray. That should be our motto, no planes, no spray. I'm sitting here with a friend of mine. He'll be unnamed. I'll show, there's my tomato patch with all the tomatoes gone. I've got to dig that up again. I've been eating tomatoes coming out of my bum for the last 2 months. Can you believe it? I had to go to the supermarket yesterday and buy tomatoes. I had to buy tomatoes after having so many. Anyway, this guy works in the hospital. We won't name it. He's got a few stories to tell. And I'll just call him Mr. G. How are you, Mr. G?
Right, yes.
Yeah, I'll just show you your arm there, and I won't show your face for reasons to keep you safe from your job. Just give us a bit of a rundown in the last 2 months, some stories that you can tell, what the hospital's like. It's one of the major hospitals. Can you just, tell us what's going on in this hospital?
Well, I'm a little confused, from what everybody's being told in the mainstream media about hospitals being overcrowded and workers being, impacted so severely with this whole thing. Yet what I've noticed is that so much of the hospital's empty. There hasn't been many people on it at all, and there's certain wards that have supposedly receiving these COVID-19 cases, and from my knowledge, most of them are coming back with are being the patients are coming in with query COVID-19, and then they're fine, they're being discharged. Our ICU unit hasn't had one, and that's ICU, this is, the serious unit. Our ICU unit hasn't had one case up there, which I've heard from the horse's mouth, and I was astounded by it all. So I just think that so much of this has been hyped up, and the precautions that they're going to, and the things that they're putting in place to deal with this pandemic. Did I say pandemic? Pandemic.
You're right. You were right the first time.
Sorry. Yeah. It's just is overkill, and I think most people, as we all know, have just sort of followed the pardon the term, company line, and just gone along with everything. But I just find it amazing to think that they've
Can I ask you, G, the people you work with, you mind telling what you actually do, or is that you don't want to say what you do there?
No, I think I'll just keep that to myself.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you work there on a daily basis.
Yeah.
The people, the nurses, they're obviously not doing their dance routines there. You haven't seen any of that, but what do you feel about the actual doctors and nurses and the staff there? What are your thoughts about them? Are they, do they all wear masks? Are they all filled by this, or do you speak to any of them? And what's their thoughts that
Yeah, look, they're all towing the company line. They're all, there was an issue with the whole PPE, a shortage of it and all that, and they're all just sort of, in my book, just following the company line, and the textbooks, the science textbooks have got them in there, because if you don't, they're not going to have a job. At the end of the day, if they don't, follow their orders, they're out of a job. And to going back to something what you said when you first asked that question about I actually did witness nurses doing a dance routine, and it made me sick.
You're joking.
You know, to make me think that, you know, this was supposed to be a crisis, and you know.
Were they actually recording it, or were they just practicing it? Was it?
Yeah,
and it wasn't. It was there during their
during
break,
their
working time.
No, during their working time.
In the hallways.
Yeah, and I even warned one nurse. You know, I told her, I said, this is not a good idea. I said, you're going to put that up on social media, and people aren't going to be happy with this, because, you know, you're supposed to be saving lives here, and you're doing dance routines. But anyway,
So just on that, they're actually. A nurse doesn't go to another nurse and say, "Oh, let's just do a dance routine because, you know, we might risk our job." Do you think they're obviously told from higher up, and this is all around the world, that the person on top, and just give me a brief opinion on who do you think runs these hospitals, and is it all for money, or do they actually care for the people?
Look, it's a business. To me, it's just a business. And who they've received, you know, the okay to do this thing from, I can't really say. You know, whether it was just a spontaneous thing that a nurse organised, and she wasn't thinking hard enough about what she was doing. Maybe that was the case. Maybe they got the okay to say, okay, let's raise some morale around here and make us look good. But at the end of the day, you've got to question and think, you know, that was pretty bloody silly, you know, to be doing that sort of thing. But I've been in this system for a while now. I'm not going to say how many years, and I was just shocked, you know, coming out of the private sector, and then now working in the public sector, to see just how what's the right word I can use? I'll have to use the strongest term I can, and that's probably corrupt. Yeah, it's corrupt. The joint's corrupt.
Corrupt?
Yeah.
What about the F word?
Say again?
FREE. You think there's involvement in the free?
Oh, yes. Well, yeah. Well, now we're getting the shovel out. We're digging deep here. Yeah. That's. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of that. Yeah. And you know, we're getting a bit off track here, but I just try and you know, do my best each day to help, not those that are sitting around up the top, you know, squandering all the money. Mine is to get in there and give the people a hand that are really sick.
Well, that's everyone in the hospital should be doing the same thing. But do you think a lot of people in there don't think that way?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. Look, you know, look. A lot of the nurses and that, you've got to see what they're doing. The poor things, they're understaffed.
Poor things.
Yeah.
Do you think they deserve all these Thursday night 8 p.m. clapping for the last 8 weeks in the United Kingdom and the tooting of the horns?
Oh no, I didn't mean that. No,
I mean, do you think that, have you in the last 2 months seen them work any harder?
No.
But I actually believe, you know, I know 2 people who have been told to go long service leave. Actually, one lives across the street from me.
Yeah.
They're being told to take leave, so they can't be too busy if they're being told to take leave. And as you've told us, hospitals are empty, so they can't be overworked. So in the last 2 months, do you think, or tell me, how were they working as compared to before that?
Oh no, it's quiet. No, look, to go back, I might have misinterpreted your question. To go back, the last couple of months has been quiet, but look, prior to that, I've seen where you've got a nurse taking care of 4 patients and they are run off their feet, and I'd say the vast majority of them are in that, they're in that job because their heart's in the right place. They do want to care for people. You get the odd one that's, you know, probably should be working in a factory, but that's okay, you get that everywhere. The last couple of months, yes, you're right, it's quiet. They've been asked to take leave, they've been shuffled around from ward to ward because one particular ward, you know, I seen one time there where one particular ward, 24 beds, and there was probably 2 patients in there at one point. It was so quiet.
So why this great thing going around, you know, UK and America, you know, making it out to be the greatest people ever, like it's like they, you know, won the war and saved millions of lives. They're not saving millions of lives. But what about doctors? Are they, you know, overstressed as well?
No, not that I can see of recent times. Look, I don't know that this whole thing you know, the whole clapping and the bipping of the horns and all that sort of thing. If you dig deep enough into that too, there's some maybe some occultic practices behind that. I don't know, but well, I guess we don't want to get too deep into that. But look,
but how people, you know, like I said, my friend actually last night got out of a window and she started singing Amazing Grace while everyone's clapping. I mean, how long are these people going to clap for? And you've seen the videos where they wheel out a patient that supposedly died. I survived from COVID-19 in a wheelchair. You've probably, you know, seen people who've survived critical situations. Have they been wheeled out and clapped to into the car park?
And that's the sad part. You know, I seen one fella there. He was in a particular ward on and off for about a year and a half. He just had so many complications with infections and whatnot. And he was just, you know, when every time he came back, I was so happy to see him. You know, I was just great. I was so glad that he survived, but he didn't get any fanfare and claps and, you know, and all that sort of thing. I think that this is, you know, it's a mock-up.
Yeah, it's like a publicity stunt.
That's
they've separated COVID supposed patients and people who supposedly have got a virus, which doesn't exist. We won't go into those details because, you know, the normal layperson has got no idea about how viruses are good for us, and you know, you can't spread them through the air or through masks. But just on that, do you wear a mask?
Only where I'm asked to. At one point, it was mandatory, and then it's no longer mandatory.
Mandatory. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm, you know, without going into too much detail, but and I just found them awfully uncomfortable and hard to breathe out of.
Well, you're breathing back your own carbon dioxide.
Correct, I mean. and I felt it was like trying to breathe underneath a doona. You know,
exactly.
If you had a doona over your head and tried to breathe, you got to get out gasping for air. Well, that's what it was like, and it just didn't make sense to me. I thought, well, this is sort of compromising my respiratory system rather than helping it, and so the areas where I don't have to, I don't know, and. But all I can do is you can talk to people, and when you're in that system, to try and to swim upstream, so to say, and sort of give them some logical explanation about what may be going on rather than some emotional explanation, because a lot of it is emotional. These people come into work and, you know, they're told this and they're told that, and their first reaction is to react emotionally, whereas, you know, if you just stop for a minute and, pardon the pun, take a deep breath.
A bit hard with the mask on.
Yeah, and just think logically about the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Have you ever thought to, you know, stop a doctor or a leading nurse and just ask their views on, you know, viruses and how they're an exosome, and, you know?
I've had conversations like that with
them. Do they
them.
know this, or do they just want to keep it quiet? I mean, surely, if you're in that field, that's the basics. That you know.
I think it's a bit of both. I think that some may know and choose not to, like I said earlier on, and not to
protect their jobs.
That's
the main thing, isn't it?
They're getting good kanga, they're getting good money, you know. And others I've spoken to about it, so they had a bit of a mixed reaction. Yeah.
I think the general nurses, you know, shouldn't say it, but they're not very intelligent, you know, from what I know.
I think one of the things that woke me up a bit was when I looked a bit into viruses and how they spread and how they don't spread. It's more about how they don't spread a virus, you know.
That's right.
Bacterial infections and viral infections and
viruses aren't living things.
Yeah,
they can't spread.
You try and explain that to someone, and they, you know, they want to, they just don't get it. And then you think, well, then you should be standing 20 feet away from me, because if I sneeze, it's a chance you know, if I sneeze, a sneeze will travel that far, and you'll get it from there, you know. And
but don't they realise that the mask is as useless as tits on a ball, because you know the holes, and I know they're tiny, but the supposed viruses are absolutely minuscule, and it's like 1 to 10, you know, going through a hole in a mask, and people don't realise that the masks aren't going to do anything whatsoever, even if they're frightened of, you know, catching it. Are they frightened of spreading their disease or catching it from other people?
Well, technically, you're supposed to be frightened of spreading what they've got, isn't it? I mean, that was the whole purpose of masks, to you know.
Well, if you're sick, don't come into work. I say that's.
Just on a separate note, I've noticed in recent times there's this massive push for the flu vaccine this year, and it worries me.
Right, I was going to get onto that, but go on.
Yeah, at this stage it's not mandatory, which I don't think it's going to be for much longer. But you have the right to either to receive the flu vaccine should you wish, or you can refuse it if you want to. But they've really, I'm just finding this year it's been really pushed hard, and it can be difficult for some employees, because I had one young nurse say to me recently that, no jab, no job. And I said, well, hang on, slow down. I said, no, that's not the case. It's certainly not the case just yet. Although it may be...
It's scare tactics, It's like you said, it's
a mindset. They've got them into thinking that, that you're going to have to, or else you're going to be out of a job. Well, at this point in time, it's not true. You've just got to do a bit of research, check your policies and guidelines and your EBAs and whatnot, and you'll find out that it's that you have the right to say no to.
Do you think these people will actually go to that extreme? They'll just accept it. Like when was it when Turdbull said, "All right, no jab, no
school,
no pay, or 2,500 subsidy for women who had children." And of course, they're not going to lose $2,500.
Yeah.
So, like you said,
child to a child care centre.
Yeah, exactly.
They're being denied that. It's ridiculous.
It's all money, mate. It's all about money. So, all right, I'll ask you the question: would you take the vaccine if it, come to it? And
well, I guess there's a couple of ways of answering that. Obviously, I'd say no. I'm right against them. But the other option I think somebody could and would be able to take is to get a warranty of vaccine safety from their doctor. So before the doctor, if it's okay, well, you're gonna jab me with this
like
thing.
a disclaimer sort of
disclaimer,
thing.
yeah.
Exactly.
And you could just ask him, are you aware that vaccines typically contain a number of different ingredients, and the list goes on forever and ever. Some of the things that are in it, You
think a doctor's going to tell you?
Well, no, they're not. But I think the moment you put that form to him, if you can print a form off and say, okay, well, if you can guarantee me that this is safe and it's going to bring me no harm,
sign it,
and I'll guarantee that they won't.
Yeah, and make out, if anything happens to me, you're liable for this.
Yeah,
and it's going to sue the arse off you.
That's another approach, rather than just flat saying no. You could say, well, before we go any further, could you sign this? And I think that'll be a way of saying no. You know what I mean? Because there's no way known on earth that a doctor's going to sign it.
Exactly.
But yeah, there's been a bit of a ramp up on that. I've noticed. I don't know. It's.
So, in your opinion, the other nurses and that they'd take the vaccine, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think once that this whole COVID-19 thing, once they come up with a vaccine, I think the goalposts are really going to move. I think there's going to be some changes where things may become mandatory, and there's going to be a lot of fighting going on for those that aren't. That don't want to be vaccinated, and I think that's when the heat will really be turned up. But for the most part, I think 95% of the people are just going to line up. Their job and their money mean too much to them, and they're just not thinking logically.
That's why the terrible term anti-vaxxer. You're an anti-vaxxer. They're trying to make anyone that's opposed to this, and they have for years, and it's going all the way.
The thing that goes along with that, I must say, the thing that goes along with that. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's all right.
Is the hatred that comes with it. I've had conversations with people in and out of
exactly. You're evil,
and the conversation can start off as pleasantly and as nicely as possible with someone that you might have considered your friend, and then within a minute, it's like a hatred. There's like an anger and all that, and you've got to do your best not to retaliate in the same sort of hateful, angry mode.
Exactly, mate.
This is the sort of thing that it incites, and it's just. The more you think about it, it's because it's just been ingrained in their, pardon
that you have to have a vax.
Their brainwashed mind that this is what you have to have. So it's been ingrained in it.
Exactly.
And to try and talk about against that, it brings out anger.
It's like they're accusing you of being a murderer because, vaccines usually relate to younger children and babies, and how dare you force babies not to have the vaccine? You've had it when you were younger. We had a few jabs. It was nothing like it is today. And you're virtually labelled as I hate to say it, a Holocaust denier, and you're evil, and that's how they do it.
Well, that's the sad thing is that
we're the ones that are caring. We're made to be the opposite.
I'll tell you, I think that anything that you've ever watched in the mainstream media, newspapers, radio, whatever like that, you've got every right to question it. And people might say, "Oh, you're going a bit too far with that," but if you can believe just one event that you'd think may have been wrong, and you've got pretty solid proof within your soul to think that it was wrong, then you've got every right to question every mainstream media narrative of that, and that goes back all throughout history, in my opinion. So just do it with an open mind, do it respectfully. But yeah, again, like you said, you get labelled as evil just because you simply don't go along with the
It's crazy, mate. They call us, wearing tinfoil hats. We're paranoid, but usually the idiots are the paranoid wearing masks, and we're saying, don't fear this virus. So we're the good people, but yet we're being labelled as evil. Whereas the fear propaganda is all from your government and your media, and it's just like all these shootings and truck events and all these events that we're calling out hoaxes. No one's dying. We should be labelled as good people.
Well, we're not called to this world to be fearful. I mean, God's given us a spirit of courage, not fear, and I think that's their whole plan, is just to get the whole world in a state of fear, so then the moment that you're in that state, you'll do exactly what you're told.
Yeah,
and,
full control.
We could talk about this for hours, but I guess what I'd like to just sort of wrap it up with is not all people that work in hospitals are bad people. They're good people. I think just a lot of them are very misinformed, and they're towing the company line, and it's sad. It's sad to see. It can be sad.
It's not just in hospitals, Mr. G. It's all over the world. It's your next door neighbour.
Correct.
And you can ask anyone. I stop people. They know there's something wrong, but they just don't know quite what's wrong. They don't do the research.
It might come. It might come. It took me a while to come to the truth. I received an email years ago about the whole 9/11 thing, and at first I was a bit taken back, but then I looked into it and I thought, wow, that's interesting. And then bumping into you down the gym years ago, and you said a couple of things to me which at first I thought was absolute madness, but then I took time to look into it, and here we are many years later, and you were, in my opinion, you were correct, and that's helped me. So what we can do is we can edify one another. You can just help one another, and if someone wants to listen, they listen. If they don't, you leave it with them, and they might come back to it in a few years' time. So we just got to hope that going forward, that people might wake up.
Yeah, if you've heard people talk over the years and you thought they were crazy, well, maybe you want to listen to them again, because it's the crazy people you want to listen to. You don't want to listen to these media whores, as I call them, because we blatantly proved them on last Sunday at the protest in Melbourne. The lies that they spewed, a few hours later on the news, how the protesters were thugs, and they made it look like the protesters were attacking police, and police was rushed to hospital. No police was rushed to hospital. They were the thugs that were just coming upon guys standing there with a microphone reading verses from the Bible, and they didn't like that, and that 12 of them got him in a headlock and dragged him in and threw him in a van. But as we know, they got no right to arrest anyone, so they just drove him around the corner and said, don't go back there for 24 hours. So, well, they know. They know, because it's not a law. It's not a law to protest. It's a direction or an act. So on that note, there's any last things you want to say, Mr. G?
No, look, mate. I just think that it's always good to like if you do find that you're questioning things and you're getting and you find yourself getting deep into a particular topic, keep going. because I've found over the years that what you think to be right is actually it could actually be someone like what you might term as a psyop or a plant. So you just when you think you've got something figured out, there's someone behind it that's got an ulterior motive. So you think that that they could be unveiling some truth, but they're actually doing the opposite. They're leading you in a different direction, and that whole QAnon thing is a prime example of that. Where people they're getting helped out, and that's leading them to the truth. They're going to drain the swamp and all that. But gee, if you look deep enough into that, it's
yeah, I know.
It's sort of
Donald Trump's our saviour, is he?
oh
my
boy,
God.
well, I must admit, when he first got elected in 2016, I was you beauty. He beat Hillary, the wicked witch.
Did you say elected?
Yeah, well, selected.
Sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
If he was selected, he's no good, mate. He's no good.
And I was like, you beauty, he's working for the working man in America, and he's bringing jobs back and all that.
Yeah,
but then
because he told you so.
Yeah. Then you do a bit of homework, and before you know it, it's.
He's a good actor, mate.
Yes, well, yeah. But what I meant by that was, just look right into things, because sometimes when you think you've got something figured out, you just need to dig a little bit deeper, that's.
If it's too good to be true, it's most likely not true.
Yeah, correct.
So anyway, thanks for that. Bit of a
no worries
view of what's going on in hospitals, but we do know. The thing is, Mr. G, I don't think that the general public knows that this is what it's like in hospitals. That my friend,
he our entry for starters.
Yeah, well, we could keep going a bit more, but how they want to kill the dead older people. They're scourge on society. We don't just want to fork out money for social welfare. And the simple thing you got to ask yourself is, why is this deadly virus only affecting older people and no one that's young? I mean, we've all got the same we've all got the same bodies and inside, but it's simple. If you can't see that, I'll tell you why. Because the older people have got underlying health issues. You can name them, pneumonia, hypertension, respiratory, you name it. It's as long as your arm, and children don't have that. So when these older people die, whack, COVID. COVID. It's a COVID. And you can't do that for young children. And people just have to see that they are listing people that are just dying from anything as COVID. They are fudging the numbers. If there's a fake disease, you can fudge the numbers. If it's a real disease, a bioweapon, they got no control over that. But when it's a fake disease, as you can see on the Worldometer, which is run by the Johns Hopkins Institute, criminal as, they can, and they're telling us there's going to be a second wave. How do they know there's a second wave? Because they fudge the numbers. They're going to, slowly say, oh yeah, okay, you can, well, ease the restrictions. You could come out now, then whoosh, bang.
Yeah, and sorry again to cut you off, but I think that's going to be the real issue here, is when that second wave comes out. We are going to be so discriminated against, us truthers. You're going to have everyone
anti-vaxxers,
saying, anti-vaxxers. These are all the people that wanted to reopen too early.
It was your fault.
Your fault. So we're going to get whacked with this second wave, which, in my opinion,
can't be worse.
Will be. I think there'll be a massive second wave when people start getting jabbed and they truly get sick from what they're allowing into their body, which is the only way a virus probably can enter the body is via a needle. Once they get really sick from that, that's going to be the real second wave. That's what's caused the second wave, and there's just going to be this almighty outrage, and then the restrictions. We think we're in. You think we just got through some pretty severe restrictions the last month. They'll be. They'll be doubled, tripled compared to what we've just been through, and then I think that's when it's on for young and old. But the whole. The other thing too with the elderly, it's sad. I deal with the elderly every day, and there's someone's mum, there's someone's dad, there's someone's grandparent, and they should be loved and cared for and nurtured just as much as anyone else. But when you look at who's behind a lot of this stuff, and your Bill Gates types and that want to keep throwing out all these miraculous cures,
the final solution,
and then you do a bit of homework on him and the whole eugenics issue and things like that. And you've only got to watch when he was talking on TED TV, talking about producing a good vaccine so it can
eliminate
15% of the world. Now, if that wasn't the greatest oxymoron of all time I've ever heard in all my life, nothing is. He wants to create a vaccine so he can depopulate 15%. I nearly fell off my chair when I heard him say that. And people are standing there applauding him.
Applauding him, exactly.
Oh my
How
goodness.
good's this?
And so, so you've got to, just pray for the elderly and try and because this is going to be a tough time for them. Like you said, the young, we're okay. Well, I'm not that young, but the younger generation, their bodies are strong and they won't be as affected by all of what's going to happen.
Yeah, they want to get rid of the old as well because they're knowledgeable.
Yes.
We can teach the younger children. Eliminate the older people, and the younger children have got no idea, mate.
Yes.
They got no idea what the skies were like 30 years ago. Oh, yeah, chemtrails, that's normal.
Yeah.
Everything, they have got no idea how the world used to be when we used to play in the streets.
Yeah.
Kids used to play in the streets. We don't see kids playing on the streets ever. They're all too busy looking down on their bloody iPads and shit.
You've only got to watch 1984, the movie,
it's horrible.
Richard Burton and John Hurt, or read the book and just see what was going on about how they were actually deleting information and deleting history, and then obviously brainwashing people. And it was only when John Hurt went and spoke to some of the elders in that little town he was living in, and they were telling him about how things were, that he knew that was what it was really like. And so that's what's going on now. They're just getting, I didn't really think of it until you just mentioned it then, that another reason that they want to get rid of the elderly is because the elderly do have a lot of information, a lot of truthful information, and they need to get rid of them.
Yeah,
so,
if you get rid of them, you can rewrite history even more, even though they have written history.
Well, it's a reset, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a reset.
Wipe them out, and the younger kids wouldn't know what happened 50, 100 years ago. They could just tell more lies, even though everything is a lie, going back to the moon landing. And I just want to close up here, Mr. G. Here, where I live, as of yesterday, they've switched on the number after 4 and the letter after F, if you know what I mean. And so I don't know if people are going to start dropping dead like flies. I haven't noticed anything myself, but I noticed on the poll, actually I could show this. I will, hang on a sec.
Go for it.
Sorry. If you can see there, bottom of the poll, there's a note, and it reads something about AE, some shit about, I'm sure there's going to put transmitters or something on this pole straight at the front of my place, and they're on every pole. So, like I said, they've switched it on, not only here but in other places around me. Just want to get around here, don't want to show Mr. G's face. He's got a job to look after it. So don't know the effects of that, but obviously they're not letting us talk about it on the internet. They delete every video that mentions it. So your thoughts on that, Mr. G, just quickly before we sign off?
Oh, look, I just think that I can't confess to know to be an expert on the whole.
None of us are, mate.
You look at blokes like Joe and Brianna. You can like him or dislike him. I know you make your own choices on him, but he's pretty clever on the whole topic. I personally don't.
Yeah, but he said we're all going to be out of lockdown on April the 12th.
Yeah,
after 2 weeks of installation.
So you take the good with the bad.
Exactly.
You take a bit of salt and take a bit of pepper or whatever you want to term it. I personally myself, I don't think that they're just going to flick a switch and we're all going to fry. I don't think it's going to be
slow kill.
Yeah, it'll be a bit more of a slow kill. So expect some headaches, expect some symptoms that might even be very similar to what the COVID symptoms might be. You know what I mean? And then they might sort of tie in with the whole slow kill of the new number after 4 thing. The symptoms of that might be very similar to the COVID-19 symptoms, and then
well, we're going to have problems, like.
But I don't think it's going to be one big flick of the switch and everyone's eyeballs are going to fall out. I think you'll experience like headaches and whatnot, and then eventually it's going to be pretty nasty, you know.
And it's going to create coronaviruses in our body, and that's we're all going to test more positive, because you know. Coronavirus is created by fear, disease, and all sorts of electromagnetic waves, and that's just going to be a part of it. But if we could just...
I think that's a good point you just made there, because, you know, we spoke about it a little bit before. Don't be fearful, you know, don't be fearful. You know, every day you wake up's a blessing, you know, and counter each day as a blessing. Don't be fearful, be happy. A lot of people around the world that aren't waking up to a meal on the table every morning, or a house, a roof over their head, and a nice warm bed. So
yeah, it's not 1984 yet, but we're heading back to 1984, even though it's 2020. But yeah, don't fear, exactly. Turn the TV off. Smash the shit out of it. I mean, you can keep your TV. I have my TV just to play my music, because that keeps me sane. Oh, sorry, insane in this insane world. You have to be insane. So just one quick thought. What was I going to say about the number after 4? Yeah, if you got your phone, you can actually switch that down. Mine was on 4 letter after F. I've turned it down to 3 letter after F. So if that helps, I don't know. I don't know, but make sure you're
turn it off at night time. A lot of people put it on aeroplane mode. Turn it right off. You know, I noticed. I head up the country in central Victoria for a bit of a break quite often, and I've noticed that with my phone turned off and the beautiful fresh air and the quietness up there, the way that I sleep is just totally different to how I sleep here in Melbourne. And there's just little ways of helping yourself out. You know what I mean? And
you're right.
I reckon one of them, just completely turn your phone off of a night time where you're trying to sleep, and you may find you'll have a better night's sleep. I could, you know, each to their own, but there you go.
Yeah, I've found that a few times. I switched my phone off and slept better.
Yeah.
Maybe I drank more. I don't know. All right, mate. It was great having you on. It was just like, you know, sorry. Well, we shouldn't mention this, but you're only 3 feet away from me. But
well, hang on,
I'm glad the Gestapo ain't going past, because I hate to get a $1,600 fine slapped on you. Not me. This is my place, not yours.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, social distancing. Oh, you got to stick that up your ass. Honestly,
funny,
get together. I can't wait when this. Oh, hopefully this. You know, I'm going to have a biggest party, you know, this place has ever seen.
Well, that's another way that they're preventing the population growth is social distancing. People aren't allowed to
have a bonk anymore.
You said that.
Oh, apparently, coronavirus you can catch from having sex now. You know, it's in your feces, it's in your sperm, it's everywhere you go. You know, it is freaking laughable. This thing that's just come out of a bat soup, and no one eats freaking bat soup in China. I mean, you can make any shit up.
Well, that's the funny thing too.
We're going to go on forever, mate.
I know we're winding up, but it's just amazing that this has happened. Like January this year? Where are we now? We're in May, and this is just for those that aren't awake, for those that are like you said, the sheeple. You know, it's a strange term to use, but the sheeple. This has really caught them unawares because it's happened so quickly. But for those that are awake, that have got logical thinking and. They haven't been caught by surprise, because we expected this to come.
Oh,
we knew it has happened quickly, but we knew it was coming. You know? Yeah,
well, you know, there are benefits. There's no more ISIS terrorism. There's no more climate change. There's no more Greta. Watch my next video. That she's been interviewed. She's been interviewed about her comments on views on coronavirus. Can you believe she's an expert now on coronavirus?
Oh, that's interesting.
Because not only does she see carbon dioxide, an invisible gas, but she knew she had coronavirus when she came back in March. She knew it. She didn't have to be tested. She knew she had the symptoms. So, but now she's an expert on coronavirus. She's speaking to I think it's Pooper Scooper from CNN, saying how it's all about. She uses 3 words: trust the scientists, trust the scientists, trust the scientists, and they've got this moron on on CNN worldwide as an expert on coronavirus. Trust the scientists, trust the scientists. All that come out of her mouth, it is a laugh.
Well, the thing is with Greta, I mean, you really actually got to probably pray for that poor young girl, because if you look deep enough into her parents,
I
what
know.
her parents are into, it's pretty occultic and pretty evil.
I know.
So
Yeah, but she's old enough to know better. So,
Yeah,
but she's obviously told to do this. But
yeah.
all right, enough of Greta.
Yeah.
So we keep saying for the 14th time we're going to stop. So
We can talk about
on that note, that'll do. And for now, everyone keep safe. Keep your distance. Bullshit. Don't keep your distance. Get together. Shake hands. Kiss. Cuddle. Do whatever. Do whatever you fancy in bed, because that shouldn't stop anyone.
Share a croissant. We just shared a
Yeah.
croissant.
There's my John Lennon mug. There's my stevia, and there's who left that behind? I'll finish it off. Thanks for bringing it around, Mr. G. He's a good man. Let's just hope you keep your job, mate, and you can shove that vaccine where the sun don't shine. The sun's shining up there, but they can shove the vaccine where it don't shine. So on that note, thanks very much.
Oh, right. No problem. No problems.
I'll shake your hand, even though we won't. Yeah, we can see it. There's a good man. There's a good man. All right. On that note, everyone, have a beautiful day. If you're in Melbourne, go out for a walk now, because it is an absolutely gem of a day.